Hey guys, and welcome back to the theBSofSociety. So, this video I'm including Girls Frontline gameplay after the Memorial Arena run, just so that way you can kind of see the stage that I was talking about, that event stage, and so you can kind of see how stupid it was, and also get a little bit more of a feel for Girls Frontline combat, right? So to recap on night missions, basically, you can only deploy on heliport points. You need to deploy a handgun so that way you can deploy more units and see the nodes around you. Or capture a radar if it's close enough to a heliport point so that way you can redeploy. Because if you can't see the heliport point, you can't redeploy. And if you can't see nodes that enemies are on, you can't see the enemies either. The objective of night missions is basically to defeat all the enemies before you run out of turns. When you run out of turns, you fail the missions. You only have a certain amount of echelons that you can deploy before you can't deploy anymore. If you have to retreat any of them, you can still redeploy. That's basically the gist of it. Obviously, night missions aren't good to farm for, and all you really get is basically equipment XP. The last stage for night missions on all the chapters basically gives you can give you a unique equipment for, one of the T-dolls, and it tell you who it's for. So besides that, there's really nothing special for night missions. They're just a pain in the neck. Oh yeah, and your accuracy gets reduced by 90%, and your strength gets reduced because the mission is basically you lose that accuracy. So keep that in mind as well. So now that we covered the gist of the combat system as a whole, I would kind of like to cover the more basic things that's involved in all of them, with the exception of, or this next part has the exception of combat sims. So resources, whenever you deploy an echelon, you use manpower. That is the top left resource. The top right and the bottom left resource is your ammo and MREs. Those you use to basically do battle with enemies. MREs are used for every turn that passes and for every enemy you fight. And ammo is used for every enemy you fight. So that's why they're kind of like 10 and 5 for the ticks that they have. They always go down a tick. So no matter how much ammo or how many times an echelon will shoot, or how long they fight in a battle, they always lose the same amount every single time. So basically for each T-doll, you can basically take the amount of ammo and MREs they have and basically divide it by 5 for ammo and 10 for MREs, and you can see exactly how much they're using every battle. So if you want to effectively farm a full team, you can kind of see that. So keep in mind some T-dolls like machine gunners are going to use more, right? Now for combat sims and normal missions, machine gunners are basically the only units that have to reload. And it doesn't take them long before they blow through their ammo and start reloading. So you'll notice in the gameplay that's coming up here in a minute that I pretty much push my machine gunner back. And another thing for buffs, every T-doll has like a set of nodes, or not a set of nodes, but a set of spaces within the formation that they can buff. So like some handguns can basically sit in the middle and then buff all T-dolls around them. Some units like machine gunners, or like the machine gunner that I have there, will buff a shotgun. Snipers usually buff handguns. ARs usually buff SMGs, and SMGs usually buff ARs. So you can kind of see the team synergy that you can set up. And some units, like the AR team, will buff, will have a different buff compared to the norm. So, like, some of the AR team will actually buff other ARs instead of buffing SMGs. So you basically need to pay attention to who you're using. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter too much. My teams were kind of just thrown together as I got them, so don't really worry about it. I believe at this point the girls frontline stuff is up now. So as you can tell, this stage is really ridiculous, right? And I'm deploying a bunch of my units. And this is where we kind of get into the problems with the girls frontline combat. The first problem is that you don't start off with a lot of echelons, and I feel like this is a major pay-to-win sector of Girls Frontline, and I didn't really realize it till I started having this discussion with all of you guys. You start off with 4 echelons, right? Which is basically enough to do logistics or normal battles. Nothing in between. And the thing is like, I've blown through a lot of my ammo. The cap is 300,000 for all of the resources, right? And you can see where my resources are right now. I've blown through all of that just in this one event. Now, keep in mind, I'm also running logistics at the same time. So if you don't have logistics running, you are blowing through a lot of your resources very, very quickly. Okay? That is a major issue. Especially if you wanted to run auto battles as well. So you just don't get a lot to work with. And a lot of your gems, or even all of your gems, I don't know how much you get in total for free to play, is basically going towards your echelons. Just to expand your slots. Why? Especially when you have stages like this one. This one's just ridiculous. Okay? Like I said, whoever set up this stage is honestly the most annoying person that I've ever met in my life. I feel like for S rank and the turn limited stages, you just don't get enough moves. You really don't. Now, okay, I understand that Girls Frontline is a strategy-based game, and you have to pretty much do everything right on, There's probably a big mistake that I'm making with my movements, and that's why I can't S-rank this stage. Because, as you can tell at the end of the video, I quit in the middle of this stage. That's pretty much where I end the video. Because I just don't even want to finish it anymore. There's no reason for me to try to S-rank it. I'm just going to farm the mobs for the 5-star unit that I don't get on this run either. P.S. I've pretty much run through this stage probably almost 200 times now, and I have yet to get the fucking T-Doll. Okay? This is really annoying. And for Genshin players who complain about the grind that you barely do at all, okay, for events, players have quit Girls Frontline and Azur Lane because of grind like this. Do you know how long 200 runs takes? Okay. 200 plus runs takes quite a bit. And actually, I'm kind of over-exaggerating for 200 runs. It's really more like 200 mobs. But, I'm just going to exaggerate at this point because this is absolutely ridiculous that I've had to run through the stage this many times. And it's not just this stage. The other 2 stages, okay, the first stage that I mentioned I ran through about 100 plus times, actually probably about 200. And then the second stage, I ran through basically the remaining amount of times, got 399 medals, and then finally got the unit. Oh, yay, thanks. I only had to run through it one more time. Bastards. And that's the problem with events mostly. Main stages, you can just go back to them however many times you want, and it doesn't matter. But for events, that is very ridiculous. And real quick, for the developers of Girls Frontline, when y'all develop Girls Frontline 2, which I know is in development right now, please, for the love of God, fix your pity system. I mean, it's almost as if you don't even have a pity at all. That's how bad the rates are for costumes and event grinding. It's absolutely ridiculous that it's even set up this way. Um, for heavy damage, um, I would say that one's kind of a personal thing where you keep it on or off. And when I mentioned that you get heavy damage at the beginning of the game, what I meant is that it's on by default. So you can go in and turn that off. But it depends on how much you're paying attention. There's also another thing that's turned on, which is called a skill cut-in. I would advise to turn, I would advise you to turn that off, as well, so that way you don't get interrupted while you're trying to move your units, because that has gotten one of my units killed before. And I would say while we're moving our units, don't allow skill cut-ins to happen. You know, like the skill animations, don't allow them to happen. I would also turn on auto skill, as you can tell that's on, just to make the game thorough. English, just to make the game flow a little better. Turn auto skill on, and then turn skill cut-ins off. MGers having to reload is kind of annoying. I know it's probably for balancing reasons, but why are they the only ones that reload? They're using guns. Guns have to reload eventually. They're not Rambo, okay? And that's just a personal realism issue, but come on. If you're going to make a game about guns, at least make it a little bit realistic, right? If you're going to have one reload, have them all reload. Let's see. Enemies attacking right when the stage starts is also very annoying. And kind of make enemies have to reload too. You know, if we're going to make friendly $2 reload, make them reload as well. I would say that would make it a little bit more balanced. Other than that, I think I've covered majority of the issues with the combat. Overall, Girls Frontline is pretty fun, you know, for strategy and stuff. And I would say the good definitely outweighs the bad in this situation. It's just that, at least for starting off, it does kind of get annoying. I don't really know how much the combat is with fairies and stuff. And getting equipment and stuff isn't really that much of an issue, and all of that. Just the rates and how some of these stages are set up is just very, very annoying. So I would like to kind of continue explaining, equipment and fairies and all that. I know I've done a lot of explaining for Girls Frontline, but that's mostly so that way you can kind of see where the issues are lying. And I may even make a night battle recording, so that way you can kind of see the issues that I'm talking about with night battles as well. We'll see how that goes. And besides all that, I'm pretty much out of time now. So we will see what we cover. It's either going to be equipment and fairies in the next video, or it's going to be me kind of showing you how night battles are. Depends on how long the recording is for Hunky. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Later.